like the more practical thing, you know? So it was just a reminder that it is important to listen to those feelings, whether it's about your passion or about helping someone in need. So that, I guess, really struck out to me.
And that's funny that you bring that up, is because one of the things that I wanted to talk about was, like, you know, when you're a kid and you have certain passions and desires, are there certain things, you know, in your life that your 8-year-old self would look at and be like, why aren't you doing that? Or why are you not involved in that? You know, because kids, they
Yeah.
respond to feelings, and in the moment, they're in the moment like 24/7.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
Right.
so that was one thing that really struck me. So it caused me to stop and think, you know, about all the things that I was really passionate about when I was a kid. You know what I mean? Because we do. I think we live in our head
Yeah.
as adults. So getting back to those raw emotions, like in that part of the book, was, you know, that compassion really drives your compassion when you're seeing all these awful images and all these, you know, tragic events. It drives that compassion, and it can also stir that fire in your belly, like, kind of like when you're a kid, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I
There,
like that. And we look at our kids and we think about, a lot of times are like, oh, we need to make sure that we remind him when he's older that this was an interest, or keep letting him pursue that interest because it's so genuine at that age,
Mhm.
you know, of the things that they're interested in.
they don't have self-doubts. You know what I mean?
No.
I mean, kids do. As they get older, you know, some of that creeps in, but they don't have self-doubt.
Yeah.
They don't have like things that limiting beliefs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
until, you know, until they start getting a little bit to those teen years, they act on what they love to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the thing
That's so
we
cool.
struggle with is those self-limiting beliefs that can cripple us in a lot of ways. Because I think deep down, you know, and I've talked to both of you at separate occasions, like, we all kind of know what our passions are, and there's different seasons of life where we have to focus our energy on our family, for example. You know, you have to make a decision, like you had to, Stacy, with your family. Like,
Right.
of course you wanted to be in Summit, but your priority had to be there. But at the same time, we know where our fire is.
Right.
And gosh, I lost my train of thought. Dang, I had it going and then I lost my train of thought. But self-limiting beliefs. But then sometimes those self-limiting beliefs creep in, and they decide that they're going to stop us from doing some of the things that we want to do in life. And the thing with self-limiting beliefs is that they, in the beginning, when we start having them, we find some way to justify that they're true. But in all reality, most self-limiting beliefs really have no factual background to it. We've created it so many times in our head that it becomes, in our mind, we think it's a reality.
It becomes the reality. Exactly.
Yeah. And so and I think sometimes we don't even recognize when we have it because it's so normal in our lives. So
you mean you don't think we recognize that it's not true? We believe it to be the fact, so we don't recognize that that's a limiting belief? Is that what you mean?
No, I mean, I think sometimes we have self-limiting beliefs in our brain that's just going, and it's just part of our day-to-day. We don't even recognize that we're saying them or doing them. I think sometimes we do. I mean, there's times, like, I know when I'm nervous, thoughts that are going in my head about something with my business, for example. Like, that's very clear and cognizant, but I think there's things through our day that we function and we don't even think about it. You know, little negative things that we tell ourselves. And we tend to start believing them, you know, as we get older. I don't think kids have that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think they think of, like, where does this fit in the schedule, or does this make enough money to do this, or, you know, how will that affect X, Y, or Z? It's just, I love to do it. It feels good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So with all that said, are there certain things in your life, either of your lives, that you feel has been, like, either your thought processes may have stopped you or turned you or paused you from moving forward in something, or something that is a dream, but you just haven't even really thought about going for it for a variety of reasons?
So when I was a kid, the thing that I was passionate about was dance and musical theater. But I was the shyest human being on the and I also didn't have any talent. So that clearly going to limit my abilities to pursue anything like that. And we were a pretty practical family, and so I was guided to do something that was going to earn a living, as opposed to I'm watching some of my youngest daughter is 23, and her friends have gone off, and some are in school and some are getting or have jobs and stuff. And one of her friends is trying to make it in LA as an actress and is not finding any success yet. We just didn't have that even a vague dream, really. Nobody did that except people who grew up in LA or whatever. But I've been able to turn it in a different direction, and I sing in my church choir. I don't really have a lot of talent, but talent isn't required in my church choir. It's all about worship and praise. It's not about how great your voice sounds. But I now I subscribe to the Broadway series, the Broadway musical series at the Wharton Center, and I get tickets every year. And I don't care how many grocery weeks, trips I have to scrimp on, because I'm paying for that, because that is how I'm feeding that passion. I won't ever be a Broadway star, but I pretend. One of my oldest daughters, though, friends, he's in Hamilton on Broadway, and I got to go see him on Broadway. And so how cool is that? So
that's awesome.
It's still a vicarious experience. I'm not living that on stage thing, but I just love seeing it. So, and it's something I share with my kids, so that makes it really fun too.
You're fulfilling that passion, which is great.
Exactly. In the way that's reasonable for me to do it now, because that talent thing has kind of got in the way.
Well, and you're quite a good OT anyway, and I think you enjoy it.
Kind of love my job as an OT. It's true.
Yeah. So I think sometimes it does change and shift, when you're a kid. But I think sometimes you just find a different way to, fulfill it in some ways. And at school, it's funny because, and you probably know this, Stacey, that, in 7th, 8th grade, definitely 9th, 10th grade, they start talking to kids about what they want to be when they grow up.
Right.
And it seems silly at the time, but it's kind of great for these kids to just, like, I can see what kids enjoy right now. I have a student who's going into 9th grade, but she has a strong passion for theater, going to theater, just being a part of it in some way, autistic girl, and is obsessed with horses, and she goes and rides. So I know this as a 14-year-old girl, she loves those things. And so if she can continue to fulfill, that's something that I could see her, that would fulfill her later in life, something. It doesn't have to be like the star. She could be like behind the scenes.
Right.
Maybe she's involved with ticket sales. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right. That'll keep her connected through high school too, though, socially, because that group of students are always so socially connected and encouraging, and they just invite everybody. Everybody's
they're a great group. So
well, that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
That is cool.
And I know Andrea, Andrea actually went to college for dance, and so she is a good.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did. Yes. So I went to NYU for dance and left with a back injury. And so but to backtrack before that, when I was little, the things that I always when I would do pretend and stuff, it was always dance and being a mom and things with animals or being a teacher of dance. It was always something like that every time. So the mom part is awesome. That's there. We do have one animal. Well, we have 3 kind of, and so I'm sure more will be coming. If you count a fish and a gerbil too. And then with movement, after I stopped dancing, it was I thought it had to be all or nothing. I was either in New York and touring the world dancing or not at all. There was no in between. And that really leaves a void in you if it's something that your body needs and your mind needs, the creativity and all that. And so through Pilates and yoga, I feel like I've kind of scratched that itch a little bit. But I think there's still more to scratch. But now that the youngest one is 3, I'm I can kind of open my eyes to potentially adding more in somehow. I do love going and watching it wherever I am too, whether it's Wharton or somewhere else. We always look to see if there's a performance. So yeah, I don't know. I think there'll be kind of more to come in that section.
I think so too. I can see that as the kids get older and are in school, and
yeah,
same with me. When my kids get, I think things shift and change as stages of life.
Yeah.
How we focus our passions and what that looks like.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And for me, I was kind of tomboyish, kind of, but I also was girly in some ways. Kind of similar to the way I am now. Like I'm wearing a t-shirt, like, you know what I mean? Like, and then sometimes I like to be dressed up, but I was always into sports and athletics and fitness. And, when I was in 8th grade, what I wanted to be when I grew up was a psychiatrist. So kind of in the same field.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Yep, psychiatrist. Didn't want to go to medical school, so didn't do that. Instead, went and did the therapy route. So that always has been something that's stuck with me. But I think also at the same time, occupationally, we think about the things that we want and how we address that. But, there's always, I think I read something earlier today, and I put it on, on my team page, my Beachbody team page. And this was really, I can't remember where I read it. I should have quoted it somewhere. But we are on this earth for an undetermined amount of time. During that time, we do things, some important, some not. And the important stuff gives our lives meaning and happiness. The other ones just kill time. So I thought that was really a really interesting point and a different perspective to look at things. Like when we leave this earth, and I don't want to like that cheesy old, like, what do you want to be known for? But really, like, do you want to have made some sort of footprint? In what way would that be? These are bigger life questions, but I think it's important, even because we get stuck in the rigmarole of life and the day to day, and to kind of keep in perspective how do we want to make an impact in the world? How do we want to make a difference in someone's life, so to speak? And so I think that's something that we always kind of have to keep somewhere in the back of our mind. And what does that look like? And what small ways can we do that? Whether it's through, obviously, your job, but there's other things that we do. And I think we don't always recognize that as well, So anyway, that was a quote that kind of stuck out in my head for me when I was reading earlier.
But I think I think there's ways even to do some of those less important things in ways that still have an impact, right?
Mm-hmm. Like 100%. Well, the small things aren't always small things either.
Right, exactly. I'm just thinking, like, you got to grocery shop, you got to have food, but you don't have to go to the grocery store in a rage and whip through so fast and get in people's way and be grouchy. You know what I mean? You can do that in a way that still brings a smile, that still helps you appreciate what you have, that you have the money to buy the groceries, that the vegetables are especially beautiful or whatever. I'm seeing a therapist, and she is helping me through some of these stresses with some mindfulness things. And one of the things that she's talked to me about that has really stuck is making sure that you take time throughout your day to capture a thin slice of joy. And if you Google thin slice of joy, you'll see a story. It's somebody that started Google or worked with Google in the beginning. I don't remember. He actually has a book about it. And the idea is not that we're looking for the big moments in life. We're not looking for, you won the lottery or the baby was born or whatever, but you're looking for those little things that build positivity through your day. So like that first sip of a great cup of coffee in the morning, it's not mind blowing, but if you capture that as a quick, thin slice of joy, you look at the raspberries at the grocery store and think, God, those are really beautiful, or they smell really great. Capture that memory. And then throughout your day, you have established some joy. Maybe not huge, but enough to make that a really productive, happy day.
And that's part of being intentional, which we've talked a lot about in the group, being super intentional about our time. And I think, you're right. The small moments can be big moments.
Right.
So being intentional with how you spend your time, I guess, is what I mean. When we
I get it.
Being intentional with, okay, when we, like you said, when we go to the grocery store, just taking the time and enjoying the fact that you can go, that you can walk down the aisles. There's people that can't even go to the grocery store. The foods we can put in our body, definitely those things make an impact, as opposed to, and I think sometimes we get in these ruts where we're just like mindlessly doing things
Right.
that really has no meaning in our life,
Exactly.
Yeah.
and that can be tricky.
It kind of reminds me too, Sarah, of the workshop we went to, the conference last fall, and they talked a lot about happiness versus joy. And it's joy are those moments. It is that, like, being able to appreciate the ripe raspberries that were locally grown,
Right.
versus happy of like waiting for the huge promotion, the baby, the next trip, whatever. But that joy is really finding it in all that too.
One thing that I have done in the past that has helped me, and Leah gave me this tip, Stacey, Leah, because I was finding that I was like physically tense at work, like not even realizing I was tensing like all my muscles. She's like, set a timer on your alarm, like every hour, once on the hour. And it was just like a reminder, okay, be aware of what my body's doing. Stop, take a deep breath, get aware of your surroundings. And I did that for like 6 months. Truly, I was like in an IEP meeting and my phone was buzzing and I'm like, and it says like breathe. And I'm like, okay. But it did, it helped me. So now I'm not doing it on the hour, but I'll recognize when I'm tensing and like, okay, take a breath, recognize what's going on around you right now, enjoy what's going on around you. That was helpful for me, when, especially in the fast-paced life of work, and that kind of thing, when things get crazy, and those days where you're like, get through the day, at the end of the day, you're like, feel like you're a marathon.
Yeah, but yet can only name 2 things you did all day because it feels like it was just so chaotic. You don't even really connect with all of it. I know.
Like putting out fires, but yeah. So that was a tip that came to me, and I don't know if you've learned about PQ reps, Stacey, from Leah.
Say it again.
PQ reps. Okay, PQ reps. I'll talk to you guys a little bit about it. I did a live video. I don't know if you caught that live video on here or not.
Not. Sorry.
I
Spell it for
think
me.
I did.
Did you?
It's isn't it like taking the mindfulness? I'm trying to remember. It's like little moments of checking in with your mindfulness.
It's mini
and doing the breathing. Oh yeah, the mini meditating. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
it is. It's your 5 senses.
Yes.
Yes. And that's something that it's just like you said, this thin slices of life. It's another way of looking at it. The first cup of coffee, you're like consciously and intentionally tasting it, feeling the warmth go down your throat, not just drinking it and doing something else, like doing that. Or when you are hugging your child, like really feeling that touch, or like sitting watching a beautiful sunset, like you, Andrea, I know you like sunsets, like really just doing that scenery. That takes some intentionality, and part of that can be, like I said in the beginning, sometimes we have to almost retrain ourselves to stop. There's different things we do. Retrain ourselves to stop and think, whether it's putting a timer on your phone or just in the beginning of the day. Oftentimes what I'll do is I'll kind of just take a mental view over my day and what's it looking like, and when are those moments that I can stop and make sure that I really stop and enjoy the moment, or whatever that is.
So for PQ reps, did she say you just scatter them in your day as they come up, or was that kind of like the checking with your body where it's on a timer?
Totally. No, you can do it throughout the day. I was, if your mind is going in a lot of directions, it helps you kind of bring your mind to one thing. So for example, like if I'm walking down the hallway grabbing kids, because my job, I'm often like running around the building. I could, instead of thinking about 10,000 things, this is a simple one where you're just rubbing your fingers together and you're literally just focusing on the feeling, the touch, the pressure, the heat, the coldness, whatever it is. That's just an example. I would sometimes do walking down the hallway so that I could just focus my mind on that. So my mind is all over the place. doing
It
a
just gets
it
you
could be
centered.
anything. It could be like your husband scratching your back. You know what I mean? I like
Uh-huh.
getting my back scratched and my head rubbed, like it's such a sensory thing. Um,
Yeah.
anything with any of your senses, if it's music, closing your eyes and just listening to something.
Mhm.
So these PQ reps could be done for 20 seconds or it could be done for 5 minutes. So it's a different way of meditating. It's not a full meditation. It's just ways that you can snag moments in your day.
What
Maybe
does the
Yeah.
what does the P and the Q stand for?
it stands for, is it positive intelligence? Gosh, I'll have to look it up. I'm not sure.
I looked it up too. I just wondered. Well, it does. You're right.
Is it positive intelligence? Yeah.
For peak performance and
Yeah.
feeling in flow. Okay.
It's building your muscles in your brain to be able to do the things regularly. So
Right.
in the beginning, it's an intentional practice. You intentionally, like I said, you could do it on you could set a timer on your phone. When I was doing the timer on the phone, that was just to breathe, recognize
Mhm.
my body, relax my body, but you can use it for peak reps if you want to. If you're noticing that your mind is all over the place, or if you're in a really busy season of life, or for me, my mind is always thinking about 5 things at the same time. It's just the way my mind works. And so it's important for me to do it regularly, you know?
Yeah.
Um, so it's an easy little practice to do if you don't have time for meditation, which meditation is good too.
I love meditation.
Yeah, we need
Yeah.
it. It's like rest for our brains,
Yeah.
Yes.
you know?
I read a Maria Shriver book, and she was saying, compared it to, she was like, prayer is you talking to God and meditation is you listening to God.
Yes.
I was like, oh, I like that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Because I think sometimes when we pray, we think we have to do all the talking. We don't have to,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So it can be interesting what comes to your head when you're not talking or praying, you know?
Yeah. Just still.
All right. So let's talk about you guys. What's one thing you can celebrate this week? What's one thing that you feel like is a good celebration for the week for you?
Of this past week?
Yeah, or whatever.
Okay.
Let's do some celebrations
Yeah.
and then we'll talk about different things that we could strategize for the following week.
Yeah. Like just something good that happened?
Yeah. Or something good
Well,
that you did that you feel proud of yourself, or it could be something good that happened in your life, something someone did for you,
yeah.
something that brought you joy.
Yeah. It brought me joy that I was in Nashville with my family and friends from there. And sometimes on the road back, I get like really cranky that I have to leave that. But this time, I was good. And I was thankful that I have that. And I was thankful that I have this. And that was like a 12 years, it's been the cranky version. So I guess that was, I didn't think of it that way, but I think it probably was a good moment for me and probably for Andrew and the kids to come back with that feeling.
I can relate to that because that's the way I was when I lived in Illinois. So I can relate to that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
a weird feeling.
it is.
It's a confusing feeling. Like you're grateful, but you're also like, yeah, you're missing some pieces. And yeah. So tell me what changed for you. What do you think shifted, or did you intentionally make a decision to, or you just kind of like noticed, oh, I'm doing all right?
It was sort of just notice and also a little bit intentional too of like, I could feel like those like almost just an old pattern of thought and then being like, we're so happy here, so it's like, don't just be that way because that was like an old feeling in an old way. We're so happy here. We have so many blessings here of new friendships and his family and wonderful things going on. So there's no need to be, you can be sad, but you can be, grateful at the same time.
Right. Which is awesome because it sounds like, and I love that you recognize it because it feels so much better, doesn't it? When you're,
It does.
Feels a lot
Yeah.
better. And it doesn't
Yeah, definitely
feel all the things for your family, but it feels better to be able to shift your focus.
Yeah, it definitely keeps you more present in the moment versus like almost stuck backwards.
Yeah.
Right. Leaving and then, and then not enjoying the being there stuff. Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. Right. And that practice that you're doing now, that thinking about it and planning it, will help when your kids go off to college, because you have the same, or when they move, I have the same experience. I'm so excited when they're coming home. I can't wait to see them. I miss them so much. They come home. I can't wait for them to leave. It's so confusing. You miss them, but you go on and you do your own things, and then you just think you're going to be so glad they come back, and then it's just hard. It feels like yourself to be. You can always be unhappy about it. I can always be unhappy. I miss them, and then unhappy that they're ungrateful when they're here, or whatever it feels like it is at that moment. And so that's a good practice for when they're.
I can totally see how you could apply that.
Yeah.
It scares me thinking about that, because Ava's in 6th grade, and I know that's not that old, but.
No, but
she was just born.
No,
I know.
Blink, and then they're having babies.
I know.
Oh, crazy.
Oh, it's amazing. It really is.
I know.
Yeah.
Once that baby gets out of the hospital, and
it'll be better. Yeah. And so, of course, that's one of the good things that happened for me this weekend, that he's just getting so much better. But really, that's not, for me, what the good thing that's happened for me is that I'm feeling a lot more willing and comfortable reaching out for emotional support from friends and from family, because I'm really I'll do it myself. Thank you very much. I don't want to burden anybody else kind of a person.
Mm-hmm.
And really, because I just for years didn't think that it was really worth a lot of self-worth issues. And I'm realizing that that's just not where it is. And reaching out and getting help from other people helps other people feel better, because they like to participate. They like to feel helpful. And when you push them out, they can't. And so it's not burdening. It's actually helping them, and it helps me. So reaching out for friendships, to my friendships rather, this week's been really key, and it's helped tremendously. And it helps that most of my friends are folks who also have faith, and who help me work through the faith aspects of hope and prayer and God's will versus my will, and all of those things that sometimes feel really confusing, especially when you're looking at such a critically ill infant, newborn. It's so hard, but that's been very helpful for me, and it's been life-changing, honestly.
Well, and that vulnerability with friends and other people creates
hard.
It's connection, though.
Yeah, it is. You're right.
When you're vulnerable and someone feels like they can offer something, but they also feel connected, because there's inner pieces of them that at some point in their life they felt.
Right.
And it makes them, you feel all less alone. Rachel Hollis, Rachel Hollis she was at Summit.
Yeah, I know. I missed it.
Did you see it?
No, I haven't seen it yet. That one wasn't streamed live to my knowledge, but I haven't gone through to look. I'll go back.
Oh my gosh, she was incredible, like hilarious, inspiring. We were cracking up. But one thing that she said that sticks up in my mind, and it, when you go through hardships in life and people think of why did this happen to me? Why does it happen to me, God, or whatever? Why am I climbing this hard mountain? And why do I keep getting knocked down? And what she said, and I'm totally going to botch up what she said, but was that you get knocked down because it's making you stronger to be able to get to the top. And God's response is, you wanted that thing at the top of the mountain. I'm building you, making you stronger so you can make it to the top of the mountain.
That's really cool.
The way she said it, though, I was chilled.
I think I saw that somehow. I think maybe that was something that they excerpt online.
They must have, because I was like, ugh. It was like, that why is this happening to me? Why is this happening in my life? Just that strength that we're gaining from it. That thing. But anyway, hopefully you're going to be able to watch that. I wish I had videoed it. It was just so cool. Incredible. And now I'm going to read all her books.
Have you read any of them?
None. And I know everyone's read Girl Wash Your Face. Andre, you have that book, right? I feel like you said you owned it.
Yeah, I read Girl Wash Your Face. Yeah, I read that one. And then I'm reading right now Girl Stop Apologizing.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yeah, and they're good. Her style of writing is just so easy to read. Like it feels like you're just listening to a friend talk.
Yes.
And it's easy to like read 2 chapters and then put it down and get back to it a month later if you have to, because it's just you can pick it up. But yeah, I like her.
Yeah.
She's
She's
I don't
good.
actually read. I mean, I am capable of reading, but I don't sit down and read books as often as I should. But I listen to it on Audible. And so it actually is listening to her talk. And so it's
Oh yeah,
natural to hear her just read it that way. It's so cool.
I mean, she's
Yeah,
30,
yeah,
has 4 kids,
I know.
kicking butt in her business, and she's emotionally like, you know, she's got it together, and she's
yeah,
I don't know, she was just incredible. So anyway, the
yeah.
reason I said that is because kind of went along with what you were saying, Stacey, is like, and I just wanted to bring up that point that stuck in my mind all weekend long, was like, you're just getting stronger and stronger and stronger as we, are working toward whatever we're working toward,
Right.
and I don't know. So that
I
was
like that.
powerful.
Yeah.
So struggles, let's talk about what's something you need support in moving forward. Is there something that's kind of on your heart that you need to work through, need to work past, or something that's just whatever it might be?
For me, I'm just going to continue to work on what I just discussed, because this is really new for me. Just being able to open up and be vulnerable and invite other people to help and ask for help. This is all brand new for me. So, I mean, I got a divorce 9 years ago, and I really think I'm only now getting through some of the crap that happened as a result of that, So, so for me, I think it's just a matter of continuing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be anything different than that.
You're really good about, you do a lot of the self-care things.
I do.
You're really good about that. Do you journal, just out of curiosity?
I don't, and I have oodles of them.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't actually take the time to do it. I'm more likely to do things like data. So I'll write down, there was a period of time because I was doing a contest at work where I wrote down the number of steps and the number of minutes of exercise that I did each day. I wrote the data, but I didn't write any of the feelings or the what was going on around it kinds of stuff at all.
Yeah.
The numbers.
The reason I asked is because my business coach, Wesley, Wesley, is Audrey and I's good friend.
Mm-hmm.
But she's also my business coach. I talk on the phone with her once a week for like an hour, and she's incredible, by the way. If you ever wanted to hire a business coach for your beach buddy, she's great. And she was talking about, because I have self-limiting beliefs with my business, believe it or not. And she challenged me to get a journal and to write like 50 things of what my business is doing for me and for others. Okay, so I've got 10 so far, and then also to do a gratitude journal piece to it as well, like every morning or every night. Hi, buddy. I'll be off in a minute, honey. Because like I talked about earlier, that negative thoughts that we don't even realize we're having sometimes. We might think, oh, I'm great, I'm fine. We don't realize we're having it because it just happens so easily. And by doing that, you have to retrain your thought patterns a little bit to kind of go against what your brain is telling you, So I've started that, and that's something I'm challenging myself to do every day, to read. I read the Bible. I read 2 pages of the Bible every morning. I shouldn't say every morning because I miss mornings sometimes. I do. I've been, this is the book we're reading, so I'm reading the resolution for women that we're doing in the group. And then I also am reading The Shack. I haven't read that in a few days, but and then I also jot down 5 things with the hopes of keeping me, changing those limiting beliefs that I sometimes have. So it's one of those things that's long term. It takes a long time to shift, So the stuff that you're struggling with, Stacey, like it's like an inch a day. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All of a sudden, a year from now, and you compare yourself from today or 1 year ago, a year ago from now, you'll be able to notice that big difference in how you've handled stuff. So I'm giving that a shot. That's what I'm doing to help change some of those thought patterns, and I'm bound and determined to stick with it. and not make it a priority for me because it's important. That mindset changes everything.
Yeah, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So just
I think for me, I'm going to try to keep doing, I think I talked about this, and actually I got it from Rachel Hollis's podcast that I listen to every now and then. And she was talking every day she has to exercise, and that could be 5 minutes of stretching, or it could be 45 minutes of biking, but in some form or fashion, like move her body. And because that's something that works really well for me to stay the best version of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I had been doing so good this summer, because usually summer is such a hard time to do anything for me because there's travel and we're just all together all the time, which is great. But I've been doing really good. And then this past like 2 weeks of not really being home, it kind of went down to like once a week. So I'm going to try in this next, even though it's still crazy for a few weeks, to really try to take that 5 to 30 minutes and do that. Cause just think it's important for me personally.
Look like with the travel and everything coming up?
This next little bit of travel, I have no excuse to not do it because it's just at the lake with everybody. So it's just find someone to watch the kids or put Catherine in the stroller and just go for a walk. Or there's a yoga studio like 5 minutes away, so go do that. And then when we're back home for the 5 days, that'll be easy because just wake up before everybody else and go for a 30-minute walk,
Right.
So I think it's just the awareness and planning it out.
Absolutely. Being intentional with it.
Intentional. Yeah.
So, and it pays us back and so much by that time,
Yeah. And I feel the difference when I don't do it. So yeah, along with the morning time of, the journaling and reading this book and all that, sets my day off right, for sure.
And if we can keep doing that and keep doing those little behaviors, then it doesn't have to take a ton of time. Like I spend probably 15 minutes in the morning doing all of those things that I listed off, and then work out. It's 45 minutes of my day, really, maybe an hour.
Yeah.
And it's so worth like me taking an hour of my day to take care of myself.
Right.
And not just like we talked about earlier, what you were talking about earlier, Stacey, not just going through the motions, but like being really super present in that moment when you are reading, not just like, I'm going to check this off the list. When you're exercising, like really just for exercise, for me, gives my brain a break from everything because that's all I'm thinking about is the exercise, and whatever I'm doing, and just being really present in that moment.
Yeah. I agree. And knowing that that's important to do that. It's so easy for me to put that off, like, oh, but you have to do X, Y, or Z, but really that's so important to do that.
You know what? Our kids notice it and they're gonna, they learn more by our behaviors, I think. We're teaching our kids to take care of themselves as adults.
Yeah.
Know that you're doing that. That's what I try to remind myself of that.
Which is such a gift. And then you're a better mom that day, because you took that time for yourself. So then you can give better.
Right. Absolutely. What were we going to say, Stace?
I don't remember.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's age enough.
So that self-care is, we all know that's huge. So, but sometimes we need to keep each other accountable with it and sticking on top of it is incredibly important. And being honest about how we're feeling, like you said, Stace, just like be able to reach out to people that we care about and, be vulnerable, be honest, I've certainly done that. I was telling Andrea last Monday, Tuesday, I had just really bad, I struggle with depression, anxiety. I go through really weird periods of it, and I had a really low day, one of those days where I was just wanted to shut down from the world. And but I recognized that I needed to talk about it and get it off, and, was able to talk to Greg recognizes it now. He knows what to do when I'm in that moment. But being able to not try to hide it and try to push your way through it,
Yeah.
like talk about it. And people appreciate it because,
Yeah.
like I said, when we're real, people connect with that more.
Mm-hmm.
And because we all go through it. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember after my third child was born, and they were all C-section, so she was C-section, and I was trying to power through. And one of my friends, and Stacy, I've kind of always been the same way of like, I don't know, my parents are both very like, they don't ask for help that much. They just get their stuff done. And so I'm kind of the same way in a lot of ways. And my friends called and she said, "You're trying to be an island. You're not an island. Like, let people help you right now." And that image just like stuck in my head. So when I'm hearing you, Stacy, talk about that, I don't know if that's helpful at all, but that you're not an island.
It's really helpful. And I'm watching my father. So my father's 80 and he was diagnosed a year and a half ago with Alzheimer's. And then this past March, he was diagnosed with a terminal lung disease. And I'm watching he and my stepmom try to do things on their own. And I drove over there one day and my dad is connected to his oxygen tank inside the house. He's now outside and he's trying to use his power edger to cut the edge of the lawn.
Oh, gosh.
While my stepmom, who, he's 80 with a lung disease and she's 78 and is not, 2 years younger, and she's trying to mow, and they fought me to let me hire somebody to mow their lawn. And I thought, and my daughters and I had a conversation about it afterwards, and they said, Mom, you can't be mad at Papa for that because that's you. It's true. It is me. So I hired the mower, and then I let my kids help me clean out my basement and clean out a couple bedrooms. And I didn't want to let them do that, but yeah. So thank you. That is a great one. We're not an island. Not intended to live alone. We're intended to live in community. That's what God wants, right? I mean,
yeah, totally.
Live with others and for others. So it just seems silly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh. All right, ladies.
Okay.
It is 8:56. I'm so glad you guys both came on here. I'm so glad you guys met each other.
I know. It's nice to meet you, Stacy.
To meet you too.
And we're all local.
I'll keep that sweet little baby in my prayers.
Thank you very much. His name is Ezra.
Ezra.
And he's beautiful.
Oh, I bet.
Beautiful. And I love that name.
I do too.
I know.
I've only heard of one other child a long time ago with the name Ezra, and I just think it's a great name.
So he was
beautiful.
Named for my mother. My mother died when Shani, my oldest, was 5. And Shani remembers her dearly. And my mother's last name was Ezra. So they just dropped the Y and called him Ezra, which is mother's.
Oh, that's beautiful. I didn't know that backstory.
Yep.
Oh, that makes it even that much more special.
And I didn't know they were going to do that. I was in the labor. I was one of her labor coaches through her entire labor at her request. I was there when the baby was born. It was absolutely glorious. And then I said, "Does he have a name?" And Shani and Adam locked eyes, and Shani just grinned, and I knew it was going to be a name for my mom. And she said it was Ezra. Oh. And I just burst into tears. Of course, here's my grandson. So,
that makes me want to cry.
Really so Ezra has a little guardian angel on his shoulder.
Yes,
absolutely. There with him, helping him get through this tough time.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. And that's it just might be my mother, but we'll find out later, right?
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah. It was really nice to spend this time with you guys. Thank you.
Yeah,
it was. Thank you both.
All right, ladies. Well, I'll let you get back to all your stuff and have a good night's sleep.
Thanks, guys.
Enjoy. There's still sun out.
I know. We could
crazy.
I know.
I should. I should go do it this minute.
All right, ladies. Have a good night. Thanks for hopping on.
You too.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.